Hey everyone, it's Valvus Alarm here, and for this episode, I'm going to be chatting a little bit about who would win in a fight between the wisecracking Leon Scott Kennedy versus the boulder-crushing Chris Redfield. Now, I will admit of being a pretty big fan of the horror genre, and Resident Evil 2 will definitely go down for me personally as one of my favorite games of all time. Surprisingly, when I went on Google to see what people wanted in a face-off, this fight was actually second to Chris Redfield versus another known horror hero, Isaac Clarke from Dead Space. Which sounds awesome for a second, then quickly realizing, yo, have you seen Isaac Clarke's guns lately? They are no joke. Then to completely shift back to this fight here. Both Leon and Chris are both different enough and similar in ways that would make for a really compelling fight, which is why I wanted to do this video. We'll start off with Leon Scott Kennedy, who first showed up in Resident Evil 2 as a rookie police officer arriving at Raccoon City for the first day on the job, only to be in the middle of a zombie outbreak caused by the T-virus created by the Umbrella Corporation. Leon quickly met up with Claire Redfield, who was out to look for her brother, Chris Redfield. They both ended up narrowly avoiding an exploding train and ended the game with Leon hell-bent on stopping Umbrella. Then fast forward 6 years later to Resident Evil 4, Leon heads to a smaller village in Europe as a special agent for the United States Secret Service, where he is sent on a mission to rescue the president's daughter, Ashley Graham. Through his journey to get Ashley out, Leon would have to encounter a horde of mutants and violent villagers, whose goal is to serve as the Illuminatis, the same cult that kidnapped Ashley in the first place. By the end of the game, both ended up surviving and skiing off into the sunset. Leon would end up taking a tad smaller roles in Resident Evil Survivor, Resident Evil Code Veronica, and the upcoming title Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. And then we have Chris Redfield, who first appeared as the main protagonist in the first Resident Evil game. He became a member of the Special Forces Team STARS Alpha Team, who was sent in to investigate the disappearance of Bravo Team. Chris is grouped up with 3 other Alpha Team members of Albert Wesker, Jill Valentine, and Barry Burton. After fighting hordes of, you guessed it, zombies, Chris then finds out that this was just all the works of the Umbrella Corporation, testing out a new biological weapon called the T-virus. If that wasn't bad enough, his own team members Wesker revealed to be a double agent working for the Umbrella Corporation. After the final boss fight with the Tyrant T-002, Chris managed to escape the area in a team helicopter, which leads to Chris' next adventure, Resident Evil Code Veronica, where Chris gets a tip from Leon on the whereabouts of Claire, who was actually trying to find Chris and then got captured and imprisoned on Rockford Island. Later on, Chris meets Wesker and is ploy to retrieve the sample of the T. Veronica's virus, made by Alfred's twin sister Alexia, who seems to be experimenting a bit of the virus on herself. Chris finds Claire and both are sent off to find Steve Burnside, who was an inmate with Claire while she was imprisoned. When finally finding him, we find out that Alexia injected Steve with the virus, making him into a mutant reptile who tries to kill Claire. Thereafter we have both Chris and Wesker meet up with Alexia. Wesker quickly finds out that she's much too powerful for him to handle and quickly bails out. Having Chris to finish his work, he ends up beating her, only for her to resurrect shortly after, and then finally killing her in the second meeting. Knowing that Steve was killed after trying to save Claire and the only person that still has the virus left, Wesker went out to retrieve the body for further experiments. At the end, Chris and Wesker went into a big battle which leads to a big explosion that separates the two and gives Wesker time to escape, and vow to one day take his revenge. That final showdown would come to a head in Resident Evil 5, where the really buffed up Chris Redfield is now part of the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, or simply the BSAA, teaming up with Sheva Alomar to stop Ricardo Irving from setting up a bioorganic weapon on the black market. Later on, Chris sees that Wesker is back in the picture and Jill Valentine, his old partner, may perhaps be alive after a previous altercation. Wesker then reveals that Jill has been working for him with some sort of spider device strapped on her chest, leaving her under the control of Wesker, and leading the four to have a battle royal match. At the end, Chris and Sheva fight Wesker inside a volcano, because that's what every big battle ends, in a volcano. One rocket launcher to Wesker would finally kill him, and Chris and Sheva leaves in a helicopter, feeling that the long, grueling fight was well worth it. When it comes to Resident Evil's weapons, they're mostly the same overall. You have your 3 to 4 different types of pistols, the shotguns, and machine guns. Then they hand more special weapons. For Leon and Resident Evil 4, some of the most powerful weapons is the PLR, the rocket launcher, the hand cannon, and the broken butterfly. Where for Chris Redfield, some of his top weapons in Resident Evil 5 are the L-Hawk, the grenade launcher, the rocket launcher, and the M500 Magnum. Now, normally the easy thing to do is to look at the max upgrade statistically for these weapons and see who has the highest firepower, and that person would perhaps win. But by the way they make up the stats are a tad different from RE4 to 5, where Resident Evil 4 starts off with a lower number count like 2.0 to 2.5, where Resident Evil 5 starts off with numbers from 200 to 300. So I figured taking a number from RE5, like the very first handgun you get in the start of the game, that has about a max firepower of about 250, and simply making it 2.5. So when you put it up against the first handgun in RE4 that has the max firepower of 2.0, you would have a more balanced matchup between the weapons. Sadly, not every single weapon has stats to back up how powerful that weapon actually is. But for a lot of us who played both of these games know that most of these weapons are one-shot kills anyways, and pretty much anything coming in your path, even boss fights, will pretty much get killed in one shot. But I would have to go with Resident Evil 4 weapons, just because I assume the rocket launcher in RE4 would have a similar to same stats as the rocket launcher in RE5, and the PLR, which is the real wildcard that can give the win to Leon. So it would have to go to Leon. I find that the PLR is certainly a weapon that stands out more than most weapons out there in the series, and with a flashbang connected to it, is certainly one weapon to have. So 1 point goes to Chris Redfield for having a better chance to win in a hand-to-hand combat with Leon, and Leon has 1 point for having a tad bit better weaponry in his arsenal. So how should we break this? There's one thing that really needs to be brought up. As awesome as these guys are when they're fighting against zombies and the Umbrella Corporation, they couldn't have done it by themselves. For most of the series, Chris finds himself aligned with partners like his own sister, Claire Redfield, and also worked with Sheva Alomar and Jill Valentine. Claire and Jill also worked for the Raccoon City Police Department, where Sheva worked as the West African Bioterrorism Group. Now there's no doubt that these ladies can kick butt by themselves. And then we have Leon, who's been partnered up with Ada Wong, who's a secret agent that tries to help Leon in RE4, but also has other motives going on behind the scenes. Then we have Ashley Graham, who's the president's daughter who's been captured. Now, for the most part, Leon tends to be the one with the short end of the stick here. Aside from a battle in RE5 between Chris and Jill, Chris's squad for the most part is pretty reliable and can handle themselves if need be. Where Ashley is sadly more annoying than helpful, and Ada Wong can sometimes feel like she could be a coin toss on whether she would help you or not. Really giving the final point to Leon. He is the one who has to not only save everyone, but has to deal with the annoying and untrustworthy partners on his way there. That shows strength that cannot be seen from the outside viewer and ends up with him winning the fight against Chris. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you think will win in a fight between these two? Either way, these two are just one chest spider away from that happening. I hope you guys enjoy and take care.